Hello everyone, my name is Vincent. I'm from Vincent Tech Blog. Welcome to this video. In this video, we'll be dealing with the Active Directory Certificate Services. It's a role in the Windows Server operating system. We'll be configuring it with using the 2016 version of Windows Server, and we won't just be configuring it for a basic network. If you want to configure for a basic network, you can watch this video on the screen here. Dealing with the advancement of ADCS, we'll be configuring the offline root CA, and then we'll look at how we can configure what we call a subordinate CA, and then we'll move on to configuring what we know as a certificate web enrollment service and the certificate policy web enrollment service, which basically allows the non-domain computers to be able to get a certificate from the certificate authority in your network and allow them to communicate without any issues. And then we'll look further to configure the network device enrollment service, and we'll further move to configure the certificate template to see how to use the subordinate CA in your network. And then we'll move over to configure the online responder, and also we'll see how to configure CA security. If you have more than one administrators on your network, we'll see how we can ensure that these administrators have required permissions that you, the administrator, wants to give. Okay, so with all these information we've heard, let's get started.
Okay guys, here I am on the DC1 VTP, the domain controller. To configure the root CA, we need to go over to the root CA VTB. Okay, let's go over there. Okay guys, right here as you can see we have our root CA VTB. It's not part of the domain, but it's on the network. So the best thing, or how do we configure it? Just have to go over to the manage, okay, and then you add roles. Alright, so from here on our server 2016 you go for nest. You want to add a role based feature, you go for nest. Here you go for nest again, and then you select your ADCS service, add additional features, and you go for nest again, and then nest. We are configuring certificate authority, so we'll go for nest, and then you install. So this is going to install the ADCS role and then later prompt me for configuration. So I'll get back as soon as it's done. Hello guys, so our installation just got finished, and then now we're going to configure the ADCS on the root CA by clicking on this link right here on our server 2016. Now right here we're going to go for nest because we are using the current credentials. So basically you go for nest, then we'd select the certificate authority we installed, because that's exactly what we want to configure. And then we are configuring the standalone, okay. And then you select the root CA. Then we are creating a new private key because we don't have one. We're going to use the default key length on server 2016, and then we're going to select the default hash algorithm, okay, and then we'll go for nest. Okay, right here this will be the common name, okay, for our root CA, which we actually like, root CA VTB CA, no problem. And then we'll go for nest. Then the validity period says this, if we give it 5 years, meaning our root CA will expire in 2021. I would like to say 10 years. Okay, 10 years, so it will expire in 2026. Alright, I'm cool with that, and then I'll go for next. I want my certificate database location should be default, so I'll go for next. And then I'm going to configure, okay, my certificate, just click on configure, and then the configuration begins. It shouldn't take longer. I'm going to come back as soon as it's done. Okay, so the configuration is done. Alright, so we can close that, and then we can close this. Okay guys, so after installing ADCS here, there are some couple of configurations we need to do. That's configuring the CRL distribution points and the AIA. But before that, we would need to publish it to the issuing server, that is issuing CA. And here lies the case, the issuing CA needs the web service before it starts working perfectly for us, or before we can publish this. Okay, so we are going to go over to the issuing CA and then configure the web service over there. Okay guys, here I am on the issuing CA. I'm logging in as the domain administrator because it's part of a domain. Sorry. Okay, and then I'll put in the password. Okay guys, so right here on our issuing CA, all we need to do is go to manage and then add rows, and then we'll click on next, and then we go for next again, and then down here we select the web service. Okay, that is a web server role, and then we just have to add it that way. This shouldn't take much time. Just go for install. Okay, so this will take some few minutes. I'll be right back. Our web server role is done installing. Okay, so after doing this, we need to ensure that we create a folder under the web root so that we can store all our published certificates. Okay, so right now I would go over to my web root, okay, which is right here, and then I'm going to create a new folder right here called set data. Okay, and then make it ready, okay, to store my certificates. Now right here I will go over to the root CA to continue configuration over there. Okay guys, right here on the root CA we need to go for tools, and then we'll click on certificate authority. From here we have as root CA node, we can right click on the root CA and go properties. Right here we have to go over to the extensions, and we have here our CRL distribution point, that is CDP, and then we have our authority information access. Okay, getting set to be published to a particular location. Okay, so the next thing we do here is to add a location, because we want to publish the root CA certificate and then store it on the issuing CA so that it can be seen by all the clients on our network. Okay, so now what do we do here? We need to go ahead and then specify the location. I'm going to use the HTTP and then issuing CA, that is our web server path on the other side. Okay guys, so after inserting those variables which matches to our example right here, we need to add an extension of .crl, then we'll go for OK. All right, and then we want to include in CRLs, meaning we want to include this particular URL, that is this path, and the information that will be included. And then we'll also go for the authority information, AIA, and then we do the same by adding. And then we'll specify, following the example right here, we'd have to specify the URL. Okay, and then we need to follow the example right here by inserting the server name, that is the server DNS name. We insert that, and then an underscore follows, whereas I'm following the example right here, and then we insert the CA name, and followed by the certificate name. Okay, and then the AIA files end with the CRT extension. Okay, CRT extension, and then we'll go for OK. Now after going for OK, we ensure we want to include the AIA extension in the certificate, and then we include the online, just the AIA extension, just so that the users would know where to find necessary information. Okay, so cross-checking the URL to ensure that everything is intact, and then we'll go for apply. When we go for apply, to access the restarted service. Okay, it's done, and then we'll go for OK. Right now we want to publish the CRL, that is certificate revocation list. We'll right click on the revoke certificate right here on the root CA. We'll go for all tags and publish. Then we say we want to publish, okay, and use CRLs, and go for OK. Alright, as soon as that is done, we need to look out for the certificates that are published locally. Okay, so when we go for, take note please, the URLs we entered, okay, was a path that needs to be integrated into the certificate that will be given to all the users. Okay, that is for them to know the CRL distribution point. Okay, so that they know the kind of certificates that are valid and the ones that are not. So for now, the certificates revocation list we just published are the real ones, which are the local ones we need to transfer manually to the other server, that is the issuing CA. So right now, when I go for my C drive, we'll go to the C drive, we'll go to the Windows, and then we'll go for the System32 folder. Okay, we find the set SRV, set enroll, and then we have here our certificates that we just published. When I go to view extension, so that you see the file name and extensions, you realize that here we have our CRL, and then here we have our AIA, that is our CRT certificate. Okay, now after we have the CRL and then the AIA information, we need to also add the server certificate itself. To do that, we need to copy this part right now, which I just copied, and then we'll go to the CA's console, right click on the root CA, and then we'll go for properties, and then we view its certificate right here, and then we'll go to details. We'll go for details, and then we'll go for copy to file. We want to export that to a file, and then we want to use the DER encoded binary x.509 CAR certificate, and then we'll go for browse to store it in our location. Okay, I'm going to store this here. Yes, I want to store this here, and then I'm going to call it root. Let me just give it some small letter, root CA. Okay, and then would say certificate. Alright, so we'll store that there, and we'll go for save, and then we'll go for next, and then finish. Alright, so that was successful, and we check it out, the folder out. Okay, yeah, realize now that, guys, we have our root CA certificate right here. Okay, so right now, guys, these files needs to be stored or provided to the issuing CA. That's exactly why we got it all up here. Ensure your network sharing is turned on so that you can share files, and then I'm going to do that right away. Okay, so I'll go for advanced sharing and ensure that I have network discovery turned on my private network. Okay, and then I'm going to turn on file sharing on my guest or public network, basically not private. Also on my private, I'm going to turn on, and you can turn on this. Oh yeah, and then go for save. Okay, guys, so these files that is needed for the connection of our root CA with our issuing CA. Okay, so what we need to do is copy these files over to the issuing CA in a easy way possible. So what we're going to do is go over to the issuing CA and then create some folder which is going to help us. And basically, I've enabled network share here, so ensure you do that as well. Okay, guys, so right here on the issuing CA, I'm just going to create a new folder here and call it set. Okay, so this set folder, because I want accesses from the other side, that is the other root CA, I'm going to go ahead and share it. So by going for sharing, I'll go for share, and then I ensure that administrator, I've written right. Okay, no problem. I'll go find people and ensure that authenticated users, okay, also have written right. So I'll ensure authenticated users have written right, and then I'll go for share. Alright, that is the path. I'm cool with that, and then I'll go for close. Okay, so right now that we've shared that folder, and then you have it empty where you want to store your certificates, okay, from the root CA, let's go over back to the root CA. Okay, so right back here on the root CA, we're going to access the issuing CA from here. Okay, so I have the folder they called set. I'm going to copy all of these right here, okay, onto that server right there. Okay, so guys, after doing this, we ensure that this to show that our certificates also are on the issuing VTB server. That's our issuing CA, which would help us to initiate the connectivity, okay, of our issuing CA with our root CA. Okay, guys, after copying this, the next thing we need to do is go over to the domain controller to configure some group policy settings to publish a root CA, okay, as part of the trusted root CAs in our domain. So I'll go over to DC1 VTB. Okay, guys, so right here on the DC1 VTB, I'm going to access the group policy right here. Right here, forest, go to the forest, to the domain. Here, these are domain. Okay, and then we go over to the default domain policy because we want to configure it in our domain. In our domain, we will right click and edit that. Right here, we are performing a computer configuration, so it's going to affect all the computers in our domain. Go for policies, Windows settings, and then we have security settings. Then we'll go over to public key policies. Guys, I believe we are following this clearly. Okay, so from the public key policies, go for trusted root authorities, certification authorities. Okay, you right click on that and you go for import, and then we'll go for next. Now, where is this certificate we want to import? We have to go on to browse. When you go on browse, let's specify our issuing CA, because that is exactly where the certificate is right now. Okay, so it's on the set, so we'll go for set and then we'll select it, guys. This is the root CA certificate. You select that, we go for next. You want to place it in the trusted root certification authorities, you go for next, and then we'll go for finish. Okay guys, so this particular certificate will be pasted in our trusted root certification authorities for every computer in our domain. Okay, it says import was successful, so we'll go for OK, and then now you can see it. So on every computer in our domain we should be able to see this certificate there, and that is our root CA. So currently I want to run the GP update command to update the policies in our domain. Okay, so the policy is done updating, and then that is perfect. So right here on the domain controller, if I should go for my set manager, all right, or any computer part of my domain, and then I go over to the trusted root CA. When I come here, I would find there, okay, my root CA, which I just published in the group policy, or I just placed that in group policy basically. So that is perfect, and that is done. So with this done here, we are cool to go. So let's just move over back to our issuing CA. Okay guys, so here on the issuing CA, going to add some couple of rows for certificate authority, and then we would configure. Okay, so we are installing the ADCS, okay, row on the issuing CA as well, and then over here we are taking the certificate authority and then the certificate, let me check that correctly. Okay, understand, the certificate authority web enrollment, that is basically what we are adding. And then we'll go for next, and then we'll click on install. This would install in a few minutes, and I'll be back as soon as it's done. Thank you. Okay guys, the installation just got completed, so now it's the time to configure. I'll click on the configure AD service, and then right here on our issuing CA. Okay, so to configure this we need to go for next using our default credentials. So we'll go for next here, and then we'll select certificate authority and then certificate authority web enrollment. Those are the two services we want to configure for now. We'll go for next. We are configuring this as an enterprise CA, okay, enterprise subordinate CA actually. Okay, so yeah, so subordinate, because it's going to be our issuing CA. So subordinate, we'll go for next. We're creating a new private key. We're going to be using the default just like we used for the previous root CA, and then it's going to be using, okay, this name, okay, as a common name. All right, so I want to use just issuing CA VTB as my issuing certificate authority name, and then I'll go for next. Okay guys, as you can see down here, it says it's going to request a certificate from the parent CA, which is our root CA. Okay, so from here it's going to save a certificate request to a file on this our target machine, that is this current computer on the C drive. Okay guys, so we basically are cool with that. Okay, so we'll go for next, and then we'll go for next, and then we'll go for configure to configure the issuing CA for us. Okay, so the configuration succeeded. I'm going to go for close here, and then we'll close. When we go for our C drive where we store the request. Okay, now guys, you're going to see the request right here. This is going to help us to request a certificate from our root CA that will be given to the issuing CA. So right now we're going to access the root CA to place the request. Right here on the root CA, guys, what I want to do here is just access the issuing CA's C drive. So we'll access it this way. Alright guys, so here I have the request, okay, that was placed on the issuing CA. I'm going to copy that, paste it on the desktop. Okay, so I'll go over to the certificate authority and then right click on the root CA, go for all tasks, and then we say submit a new request. Okay, that request is on our desktop right here, so we select it and then we'll go for pending request. It should be found on our pending request, so we should see that here. Alright guys, so it just popped up. It was taking a bit of a time, but it shouldn't take much. Okay, so right here I have the certificate, okay, that needs to come up, and this is the requester name, and that's an administrator. So all we need to do here is just right click on this certificate, all task, and then we'll go for issue. Now when we go for issue the certificate, okay, you realize that this certificate has been issued to the subordinate. When we check on that certificate, you see that the certificate has been issued to issuing CA VTBCA, which is that our subordinate CA. So what we need to do here is we go for details and then we'll copy this certificate. We export it actually, okay, and we want to export it as a P7B file, and then we'll go for next, and then we'll go for browse and then store it. Let's store it here. Good. We'll call it issuing CA certificate. Yeah, that is perfect. And then we'll go for save and then next and then finish. Alright, now guys, after doing that, okay, you realize that I have that certificate as well here, which is issuing CA. So I'm going to copy that certificate and paste it under the issuing CA set folder, that is the shared folder we had earlier, the set folder we had earlier, which is on the issuing CA computer, that server actually. So I'm going to paste it right here. Okay, so that is a certificate given to our issuing CA. We just completed the request and then we approved the certificate as we issued it, and then would further exported it as well because it will be needed. So right now we need to go over to the issuing CA, okay, to import that CA, that certificate of it. Okay guys, so right here on the issuing CA we need to go for tools, certificate authority. We have not copied, okay, the certificates, that is the sets, which is the root CA. Let me enable the file extension. Okay, so we need to copy these two files and ensure they are placed. That's the CRL file and then the CRT. We need to paste them, okay, in the web root folder, which is our set data. This is exactly where we need to paste them. Okay, now after you right click on the issuing CA node, go for start, all task, and then you go for install CA certificate. Yes, over here we select .pk file, that is P7B file here, the one we actually exported from the root CA. Then you go for open. Okay guys, so that has been accepted, so we can go ahead and then start our service right away. Okay guys, so right here, if we should go over to the set manager of our subordinate CA, let's see what we have here. Realize that we have here under the intermediate our certificate right here. Okay, perfectly given. Okay guys, here now our issuing CA is ready for the network, and we can decide to shut down the root CA now because we don't need it to be online. Every task can be made by the issuing CA now, okay, because it's part of the intermediate certification authorities, and that's exactly what we want. Okay, so now guys, before we go ahead configuring all the certificate or the certificate templates for the clients to use, let's see how we can go ahead and then install other certificate service roles for use.